The spring general faculty meeting of Marshall University faculty is now called to order. Would you please stand while Dr. Larry Stickler sings the Star Spangled Banner?
Please join me if you will. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
And I want to thank Larry for doing that for us, so we have a little gift for him. He just thought his role was done, and you'd always find something that you can have him do. Now I would like to welcome everybody to the Spring General Faculty Meeting, and I'm glad that we had a good turnout. We've got lots of refreshments afterwards, and so I hope you'll stay for that. Now I'd like to have introduce Dr. Stephen Kopp, and he has a few remarks to say to you.
Thank you, Cam. Good afternoon, everybody. I will try to be brief, but I do want to be thorough today, and Cam told me I could have all the time I needed. 10 minutes it is. But along the way, if you have questions, please feel free to stop me, shout out, whatever, and I'll try to address the questions as we go, or we can address them at the end, whatever you're comfortable with. Again, thank you all for joining us. If I could have the next slide, please. What I'd like to talk today about are legacies, opportunities, and challenges. And I think when you see the context of what we're talking about, it's a mixture of all three in terms of where we are today. This is something I refer to on a regular basis. This is the balancing act that we're all a part of at higher education. You'll notice that we center ourselves on core values, vision, and so on, and then we try to anchor ourselves in balance based on value-centered administration, asset development, to take care of this whole collage of challenges that we face on a daily, monthly, and annual basis. I simply present this as an illustration. We could certainly add a whole lot more cubes up there, but I don't think there's too many more to add. But it gives you a sense of the complexities of what we're being challenged to do in modern higher education. And there are days I look at that and it's daunting, other days it's inspiring. Next slide, please. When I talk about legacies, these are some of the things I'm referring to, and the emphasis on new directions is intentional. When you talk about status quo management, it's really just maintaining what has been and what is, rather than looking ahead and saying what does it need to become in all facets of what we do in higher education. Incremental budgeting has been the traditional practice here at this university. We are trying to move away from that to more strategic budget planning. And with that comes multi-year budgets and budget anticipations. When you take that approach, I think it's important for everybody to realize it's predicated on assumptions that we're fairly sure about, but not absolutely certain. And we may miss the mark, but we won't miss it badly. Emphasizing processes over results is a pattern that often dogs higher education. We tend to sometimes get comfortable with processes, but we forget to ask, are they producing the results that we want? Focusing on acceptability, doing what's acceptable as opposed to questioning whether or not we're producing the kind of value that we want to produce for our students, for our community here at large. All of those are fundamental questions that we need to keep asking ourselves. And measuring what is valued is far more important than valuing what we measure. And we've been moving very, very far away from just measuring things, but really focusing on things that we value. And evidence-based decision-making is something that I've been very adamant about since I came here. It's been something I'm trying to drive through all levels of the university, as opposed to negotiating decisions. We need to base them on evidence and try to make the best decisions we can, realizing there will be times that we make decisions on available evidence and the evidence is insufficient, and we need to go back and rethink that decision, which I'm fully willing to do, and I hope you are as well. On the next slide, you'll see the idea of hierarchical power versus empowerment, and I'm a big believer in empowerment, empowering people to make the necessary changes that need to be made, but being willing to take not only the risks, but assume the responsibility as well. We need to make informed risk-taking as opposed to being risk-averse as an organization. That doesn't mean we take outrageous risks, but it does mean that we take calculated risks that are designed to get us where we need to go. Distilling intelligence from available data is critical. If anybody wants to see the ramifications of that, go back and study the 9/11 sequelae that led up to 9/11. Simply gathering data is insufficient. And disseminating information is something that I've been trying to do ever since I got here. We're not as open and full dissemination as I'd like to see, but it's better, as opposed to restricting that information. For example, if any of you were at the Faculty Senate meetings where we talked about budget and budget planning, a lot of this is just simply trying to open things up so that we have a community here of learners all informed about budgets, budget process, and all the things we can do and other things that we simply cannot do. The idea of taking initiative as opposed to asking for permission to do things is something that's inherent in the ability to move an organization forward. And I tend to be more of an initiative taker and wanting people to take initiative. As long as it comes with the willingness to accept responsibility, to learn from mistakes as they occur, and also learning to share the successes, all of that comes natural and is a part of a very successful organization. Accountability is very, very important, that we're accountable to each other as a community, as opposed to being indifferent to what's going on. And proactive priority setting, I think, is inherent in everything that we've been doing the last 3.5, 4 years or so, and it needs to continue. We need to set priorities, continue to go ahead no matter what the obstacles are, no matter what the circumstances are. We need to continue to build on the momentum that we have established. If you look at where we began almost 4 years ago, we started with a strategic vision and 10 signature initiatives, and I'll report on the progress of those very, very briefly. It has been and will continue to be a guide plate, but the important part too is it's a living plan. We can go in and add to it if we see fit, modify it as we see fit. The objective is to actualize the potential of this outstanding university, your potential. And in the process, educate influential leaders and responsible citizens for the 21st century and fulfill the promise of a better future, not just for us individually, but for the university and the community collectively, our state, region, and nation. If you look at the signature initiatives, every one that has a red check mark, hopefully the red comes through, is an initiative that has made significant progress. If you look at Initiative 9, construct a health, wellness, recreation center, a student center on the Huntington campus, that is done. We can check that one off and say it's finished. Others are still in progress on varying stages, but we're making, I think, very significant progress thanks to the dedicated work of a number of people who are committed to seeing those goals fulfilled. If we look, for instance, at the progress that's being made on the recruitment side, in the next slide, you'll see that fall admissions for freshmen, our applications are up a little over 10% right now. That's 445 applicants over last year. These are all compared to last year. Admitted students are up 194, or roughly 7%. Conservatively, we're looking for a 3.5% to 4% increase in freshman enrollment this fall. Lots can change between now and August, but it's been consistently the case all the way through this recruiting cycle that we've been up above 10%, and we think these numbers are going to hold. Nationally, what you're seeing, and you've probably read about this, is there's a significant shift from private higher education to public higher education as price points become increasingly a factor in decision-making by students entering college. How long that trend will continue or whether it'll manifest in significant numbers is yet to be seen, but we're beginning to see effects of the economy all over the place, and that's one manifestation of it. There is a significant renewed focus on retention and success of students. There is an academic affairs retention plan that we will roll out later this spring, if not over the summer, all focusing on retention of students. And I think it's important for all of us to recognize that any student starting college and not finishing college is not gaining much of an advantage. In fact, in the marketplace, what they can expect in a lifetime is not much better than if they'd never started college. When you look at the investment, both by the families and individual students, and then the state and any student who starts college, it's a lost investment when they don't finish. It's a substantial investment that returns dividends many-fold, not only to the state but our nation when they finish college, and it's something that we need to be committed to doing. There are a number of initiatives that we've undertaken in recruitment and admissions. They're outlined here. By the way, this whole presentation's up on the web, and you can spend some time reviewing it more thoroughly than I'll have time today. But you'll see that we're not standing still in terms of practices that are being followed in admissions and recruitment. A number of new initiatives are underway. We'll evaluate them at the end of the recruiting cycle to see which ones are working, which ones are not. And the ones that are working and having positive results will continue. The ones that aren't will discontinue and try something different. Last Thursday, the Core Foundations group presented their proposal to Faculty Senate, and that proposal was endorsed and passed by Faculty Senate. In my opinion, and again, this is one of the signature initiatives, that is probably one of the most significant milestones that I've seen in some time here. This is a new general education program defined by the faculty that has the very significant potential to be transformative in the lives and futures of students because of the approach that's being taken to its design. I hazard to guess or speculate that students coming out of Marshall after this program has been put into effect and they've had the opportunity through 4 years to experience it will not leave Marshall University without a firm understanding and a firm grounding of what the principles of general education are all about and what it means to an educated person. The Da Vinci Roundtable Fellows and Professors Project is underway, led by Provost Ormiston. I'm hearing very positive feedback from this. It's still very much an evolutionary and developmental program, but I'm very excited about the prospects of it. We have a number of new degree programs that are in various stages of development. The Doctor in Physical Therapy program has been approved by the Board of Governors, and planning is well underway on that. The Bachelor's Degree in Medical Imaging, all of these programs have been approved or will come before the Board of Governors before the end of the academic year. And I think they reflect the continuing evolution of the university and in a very positive way. We also, this past December, had the first mid-year convocation for graduates. As a result of the success of that, we are now, this coming December, going to have a full commencement in December. And that is something that we've kind of evolved to, and I think it's a great addition. It's something that was greatly appreciated by our graduates who simply cannot come back for the May commencement. The Marshall Strategic Plan for Endowment-Based Research, in conjunction with the West Virginia Research Trust Fund, is well underway. We've had our research plan approved by the Higher Education Policy Commission. Gifts and pledges are totaling approaching $2 million, and that program is well underway. We've hired the first scientist. We're recruiting for the second scientist, and the idea is to build collaborations across the university, medical school, College of Science, and elsewhere for that. The Honors College development is underway. We are going to be having candidates in later this week and next week for the founding dean of that Honors College. I think it's a very important step for us to take. Most importantly, it will do something that has been, shall we say, rather mystical to prospective students, and that is, does Marshall have an honors program and an honors college? For students, when I go to the high schools, it's a very common question. They can't find the information. Now they'll know where to look. Proposed program for employee-dependent undergraduate tuition assistance will go before the Board of Governors this Thursday. Basically what it provides is for faculty and staff, dependent tuition, son or daughter tuition remission for all employees, for their children. And that's something that we've been working on for some time, and we did a lot of analysis because I think we may get some questions from the board that we needed to be able to answer. I think it's a very, very important step in the right direction for what we need to be doing here. Campus renovations, if you look at all the things that have been going on campus, and this is just this year, through a combination of one-time funding, grants, and private funds, we've done $1.4 million in complete renovation projects, and another $1.85 million dedicated to projects that are currently underway. Whether you look over at the Student Center, whether you look in various academic buildings or look around campus, I think there's evidence of what the manifestations of these renovations are. Some of them are as simple as boilers and air handling systems, which were sorely needed. Some of which, when you do them redundantly, don't work the way they're supposed to all the time, as we found out in some of the buildings, but they are, things are getting better, and we're continuing to try to make the campus a better place. We did sell some property at University Heights. The purchase price was $2.31 million. Just so you understand how that money is channeled, the money didn't come directly to Marshall University. It goes to the state. The state then has to reallocate it through the budget bill before it can get to Marshall. So we are making very sure that our legislators give us our money back. That money, however, can only be used for capital projects and for property purchases. So just so everybody's on the same page. We have been undergoing a systematic reform, if you will, of our entire budgeting process. And also financial planning for the university. The goal has been, since I've been here and under Anita Lockridge's leadership, it's really beginning to take hold. We need a multi-year budget. I'll settle for a 3-year budget initially, but we need to get up to a 5-year budget plan. And with that, we can begin to project and look ahead more than just 1 year, which is what we've been doing in the past, and that's very, very critical as we look ahead. If you look at the STEM initiatives, the Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math initiatives, and the STEM Academy, the High School Math and Science Academy, those projects are well underway. The June Harless Center is one of the leaders. And if you look at this is thanks to Stan Maynard, all of the things that are going on in the June Harless Center throughout the state, largely in the rural areas of the state, it's most impressive. We are still working toward the creation of a high school Math and Science Academy. When we say math and science, we're not eliminating the other disciplines by any means. The idea basically is accelerated education, intense education, not just in the math and science areas, engineering and technology, but also in the fine arts and others. Something that will be here on the campus that can take advantage of the vast resources and opportunities here on the campus to accelerate and deepen the quality of the education at the high school level, making a seamless transition into high school, perhaps in less than 4 years of high school, and be able to take these students to a much higher level of achievement. If you look at our athletic program, and I keep reporting on this because I think this is a very important part of the university as well, if we look at the success of our athletic teams, and one way to measure that is the academic progress report, which is filed with the NCAA every year. and look over a 4-year time horizon here in these different colors, with the exception of one blip here with football right here, our athletic teams have been above the cut line, and that year the cut line didn't apply. I think it was the following year it went into effect. But every one of our teams have been above the cut line for the entire 4-year period that the APR has been around, from or 3-year period, 2005, 6, 7, and 8. And if you look at it, for the most part, you see some ups and downs, but Marshall University is the only public university in Conference USA in which all sports are above the APR cut line. And Marshall, Rice, and Tulane and SMU are the only institutions with all sports above the cut line. So there's 4 institutions in Conference USA that all the sports are above the cut line, and Marshall is the only public university in the conference that has this achievement level. It's a reflection on what I have asked from our coaches and our athletic program. The fact of the matter is, and I made this very clear to our head coaches, we are not going to accept academic failure with our student athletes. And it's up to them to make sure their student athletes are going to class and performing academically. And when you set the bar higher, it's interesting to see how people move up the bar. If we look at some of the challenges that we're facing and how we're going to address them, we continue to talk about the importance of increasing enrollment and net revenue generation per student. I can't emphasize that enough. We've got to grow enrollment. It's one of the great ways to buffer what's happening at the state level and what's happening in the economy. Enhancing state funding has been a goal, as has advancing philanthropic giving, but I think all of us recognize in today's economy, both in the state of West Virginia, nationally and internationally, the likelihood of improving state funding, at least in the near term, is not very good. Philanthropic giving, we believe, will come back when the economy starts turning around. But for now, it's been a real tough challenge. We have some very, very strong supporters of the university, but at the same time, if you look at philanthropic giving nationally right now, it isn't what it was a year or two ago. Improving assets, expanding corporate and private sector support, all of these things are things that we've been working on very, very diligently and been making a lot of progress. But the new challenges that are surfacing have to do with reduced state funding and the practice of cost shifting at the state level, meaning the state takes costs and passes them on to other units. And we're beginning to see evidence of that in the original budget that was proposed at the State of the State. We're seeing more of that following the legislative session in terms of proposals. We don't know where that's going to lead or whether it will manifest, but it's certainly something we're keeping an eye on. We're still uncertain as to the financial impact of the CTC separation, but I can assure you that if promises that were made last year when the separation bill went through are not fulfilled, it will have a very significant financial impact on the university. As far as other challenges go, we filed a new institutional compact. There's hyperlinks on this site that will take you right to the information, so take advantage of them. This is just one example of the proposal to increase over a 5-year period full-time headcount to 14,476 students, and that's the goal that was set. That's just one of a number of goals that are in that compact, so I invite you to take a look. Changing expectations, we need to continue to focus on the effectiveness of what we do and enhancing productivity and various ways of doing that through prioritization, planning, and managing for results. Increasing our productive use of resources, and I think some of you have read about the importance of how we utilize our facilities, especially in the summer, and where we have opportunities to reduce utility expenditures. We need to take advantage of that. Continue to work toward quality results, and wherever we can, through teamwork and collaboration, amplify the benefits of the resources we have. To give you a fix on the present situation, the governor, in his budget submission to the legislature at the beginning of the session, did not include any additional allocation for salary increases to public employees. Last year, we received roughly $1.45 million for salaries and wages, and that was those funds were used for that purpose. In all likelihood, state appropriations will be reduced for this next fiscal year. We don't know that for sure because there's no budget bill that's been passed, but it's something that is one of the contingencies we're planning for. Without legislative action, we thought we might have a chance in the last session to forestall the effect of PEIA premium increases on employees. We worked very hard on that, but this last session, with the exception of the promise bill, no bill was passed out of both houses that had any financial obligations associated with them. We think some of those bills may move in the budget session and the special session, but we aren't sure. We're monitoring it. One of the examples of cost shifting is the other post-employment benefits costs, which is a GASB 45 liability. If that's shifted from the state, as was proposed in the governor's budget, it will tack on an additional $1.7 million to our financial obligations on the expenditure side. That's not a trivial increase. Utility rates are expected to go up significantly. If AEP has their way, electrical rates will go up 18.5%. Utilities, other utilities are in double digits as well, and we're simply looking at the total effect, which is one of the reasons why we're trying to drive down utility utilization on campus. If we can come out even next year on what we spend on utilities just this year, that'll be a huge victory. We know that the CTC contract will be reduced in 2010, but it hasn't been negotiated, so we don't know how much. Salary issues for both classified, non-classified, and faculty represent a very significant financial challenge. That's a base funding challenge for those of you that were at the Faculty Senate meeting, on the order of $4.2 million annually. Endowment earnings are down significantly, and we still have deferred maintenance and aging facility issues that we're currently dealing with. If we look at the options that we've used to address some of the challenges, I mentioned the multi-year budget. The budget development hyperlink here will take you to a site that will give you some background. It's actually a video stream of the presentation I did for Faculty Senate, kind of bring you up to speed in terms of what's going on there. Enrollment growth continues to be a major consideration in how we're going to address the challenges. Ideas for potential budget reductions. This is a hyperlink right to a site where you can offer suggestions on the President's webpage. We have already implemented an action plan for energy savings and efficiency. We're looking at the extension. We have a soft hiring freeze. That's been in effect ever since I've been here. It was just simply prudent to do. I'm very reluctant to go to a hard freeze, but we'll have to take a look and see how things play out. We are implementing the new summer school model, as you well know. We're offering classes on the South Charleston campus, undergraduate classes for the first time, which I think is a very prudent move. We're looking to see how we can operate fewer buildings during the summer and see if that's feasible and still be able to deliver a quality summer program. We are continuing the process of rebalancing graduate waivers. Again, we don't want no student who had one is going to be affected. We're looking at new graduate waivers and how best to deal with those. The idea being here on the 50-50 is if you have a half-time waiver, you get a half-time tuition benefit, not a full. And then we're looking at supplemental pay practices. If we go on, the national economic crisis that we're looking at right now, and it's just this year, in the last 6 months, really beginning to show manifestations here in West Virginia. I think it's safe to predict that what we're currently seeing will be around for at least 2 and perhaps 3 years, and very likely affect the fiscal year budgets not only of this coming year, the following year, and very likely the third year out. Hopefully it will not be any worse than that. But when you look around the country and see unemployment rates in states of 25 and 27%, and communities approaching 30% unemployment, the only period of time in our nation's history where unemployment levels have been at that peak was during the Great Depression. This is a very, very unusual time in the history of this nation. We in the state of West Virginia and here at Marshall University, I think, have been insulated from what's going on in a lot of places around the country and around the world for that matter. And I think to ignore or to think that things aren't going to eventually hit here. They may not hit as hard, because fortunately this state doesn't go up as fast as other states go up, and it doesn't plummet as fast as other states do. But we're still going to see ramifications of this in a lot of different ways. And we simply have to plan for it and use creative strategies to deal with the structural budget problems that I think are on the horizon. The predictions are that this year's budget from the state will not be as bad as next year's. That's just current talk. The federal stimulus money, which everybody thinks is the panacea for bailing us out of, making any serious changes to what we do, in all likelihood in West Virginia will not be available till fiscal year 2011. At least that's the current thinking. And that's a result of a conversation with the governor. The rationale being that fiscal year 2011 is projected to be worse than fiscal year 2010. One of the wild cards in this whole equation is the national energy and environmental agendas that you're hearing coming out of Washington right now. If some or many or all of those agendas really begin to take hold and coal becomes a pariah in our nation's energy grid, we are going to see problems in this state like this state has never seen before. And hopefully that's not going to happen. Anyone who understands energy creation and producing the necessary energy in the power plants to run the electrical grid understands that the technology does not exist. It will not exist for at least the next 25 to 30 years. And so I think all of the public rhetoric, I think, is wishful thinking in many respects. But nevertheless, it still has the effect of making you wonder what the near-term future holds. In terms of our austerity budget planning, everything's on the table. It has to be. But our goal in what we're doing and will do is to emerge as a university, a stronger university than we went into this economic crisis. And that is my pledge to you. We will figure out ways to do this that in the long term position this university to be a better and stronger university in the future. And I think that's the best we can do under the present circumstances. The problem we're having right now, and I'll be perfectly frank with you, there are so many variables floating out there right now that it's very hard to get your arms around what is the real nature of the problem. So you do a lot of scenario planning, you do a lot of assumptions, and then plan out, you run out the scenarios. How are we going to deal with this? How are we going to deal with that? And so on. The goal, of course, is to bridge this year into next year and the following year, and then when the economy picks back up, we ride the crest of that wave. And that's the way we want to handle it. Just to give you some numbers to work with, if you look at a 1% increase in student enrollment, it generates roughly $377,000. Now that depends on the in-state and out-of-state mix of students, but it's a pretty good metric, roughly $400,000. With no fee increases except tuition, a 1% tuition increase generates about $500,000. 1% reduction in state appropriations, roughly $500,000 decrease. 1% decrease in student enrollment, same effect as an increase of $377,000. 1% compensation increase costs roughly $610,000 to the base budget, and current tuition numbers are there, $45.98 for in-state, a little over $8,000 for metro, and $11,700 for out-of-state. And those are the current tuition numbers. We don't yet know what the board will do for tuition for 2010. That's part of the whole budget package and discussion that will take place at the June board meeting. Bottom line here is higher education has been facing vexing challenges for a long time. We're in an era right now where the challenges are perhaps greater than they have been historically, but they're there nevertheless. But with vision and action that's designed to take us where we need to go, we can get through this, and we will. There's considerable work that needs to continue on all fronts, and I listed the majority of them here. Clearly navigating the economic crisis is right at the top, but we can't lose sight of the importance of enrollment growth and retention. We need to focus on improving faculty and staff compensation. We got to come up with ways to do that. The multi-year budget planning and prioritization process should help us in that regard. The core foundations and student success plans go hand in hand with the retention efforts. They are so tightly integrated, is to be won. Faculty recruitment and retention, as some of you found this year, those of you who are recruiting for faculty, it is literally a buyer's market out there this year for the most part. We've had a very successful recruiting year for faculty. You're finding in other states huge reductions in funding of higher education and job eliminations of faculty positions, staff positions, and so on. If you want a model state to look at where you can see some of the implications, go down and take a look at what's happening in Florida right now. It is amazing and very sad. Major gift fundraising and endowment development will continue, and we will continue to work toward the type of endowment development that we need to continue to do all the things that we need to do at this university. I'd personally like to thank all of you for your very hard work, your dedication, and your support. Marshall University, your support of me as your president, and all of us who are working toward a common goal of improving this university and providing opportunities for our students to find their futures and pursue them with great passion. It's because of you that we see the successes in our students that we do, and I cannot thank you enough. At this point, I'll entertain any questions you might have. Yes?
What exactly did you mean by supplemental pay practices? What falls under that term?
Supplemental pay deals with administrative pay. It deals with how we handle overloads and how we do all of that. And at this point, I can't give you any granularity except we need to take a look at what we're doing. It may be perfectly necessary, it may be perfectly justified, in which case we keep doing what we've been doing. But when I say everything's on the table, we've got to look at everything. And one of the things we're probably going to look at is what we're doing with e-courses. And again, this is all about examining, questioning, and then affirming or modifying what it is we're doing in terms of practices. I can't give you any more specificity than that. It's just we got to look at everything before we start eliminating jobs. My goal in this process, and this is something that I think all of you are aware of, when you start eliminating jobs, for instance, a common practice is we're going to eliminate all unfilled positions. But when you do that without examining what each role and each position is, you may well gut or eliminate critical jobs that in the short term don't show up as hurting the institution, but in the long term cause catastrophic damage to the institution and the continuity of the work we do. In my past experience in terms of dealing with these kinds of issues, nothing of this magnitude, but in dealing with them, the last positions I ever consider are faculty positions. Faculty are the backbone of the university. And if we start there and say, well, we have all these positions vacant, let's eliminate them, that's not a good place to start. We need to go at this strategically. We need to look at what we're doing and ask critical questions. But those are questions down the road before we get through some of these other things. Yes?
I have a very specific question. Is it cheaper to pay an overload to an existing faculty member or to hire an adjunct in the class?
Is it cheaper to hire an adjunct or to pay an existing faculty an overload? I think it depends on the faculty member, doesn't it?
I don't know.
On the overload? My experience with overloads, and I haven't looked into this thoroughly here, is they're paid on a percentage of what their current salary is. So if you're paying a senior faculty member on an overload, I think you probably hire an adjunct cheaper, unless they're flat rates. Are they flat rates? So are they the same? Paying an overload? Paying an overload and adjunct, same deal? Okay. It's the same. Other questions? Oh, okay, sure.
Could you say a few more words about what the longer-term goals for the new Honors College are?
I would defer to Gail to highlight the longer-term goals. Gail, do you feel you can address that question?
The longer-term goal is to bring more visibility to our honors program, to the program
I can honestly tell you that in my experience going to high schools, when students ask about, and then later on, I run into people around alumni events and so on, my son or daughter would have come to Marshall if you'd only had an honors program. I said, well, we have an honors program. Oh, we didn't know that. So they went to this place that had an honors college. So in just anecdotal sorts of information that I've had, experiences I've had over the last 4 years, the fact that the honors program is not visible to prospective students has worked against us, especially in terms of some very, very good students who wanted to come to Marshall but didn't think they could get honors education here. Other questions? If not, thank you for your attention. Appreciate it.
Thank you, President Kopp. There are a couple of things that President Kopp said that I would like to comment on before we continue with the meeting. He talked about financial planning, strategic budget planning, and evidence-based decision-making. He talked about summer school, the new summer school plan. And he talked about the dissemination of information. All of those things I think faculty would like to have more information about. I think when we talk about financial planning, strategic budget planning, that one of the things that has to be a key issue in those, and a line item, is the idea of faculty salaries and what's going to happen with faculty salaries. We all understand the economic downturn, but if there is more visibility and more openness to that whole process of faculty salary determination, I think that the faculty would be very open to that. Also, on the summer school plan, there seems to be, from what I'm hearing from a number of faculty, from the College of Science, the College of Liberal Arts, all the way across campus, is there seems to be some differing of information on what's happening with that. And there was one plan that we had to be entrepreneurial in our getting our people into the classes, and I'm not sure that there's a clear-cut definition of what that means. So if we could have that, that would be, yeah, if you would, that'd be great.
I think it's important for everybody in this room to leave and share this information with your colleagues. The principle that we are going to this summer with summer school is that overall, within each college, the courses that are offered will at least be break even. If they produce a net surplus, that surplus is shared with the college and centrally as well. But the concept is that if you look over the last 3 years, summer school has operated in a significant deficit, cumulatively about $1.4 million in deficit. One way to ensure that we have more resources to work with going into the next academic year is for the summer school program to break even. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that you may have some courses that are, quotes, undersubscribed in terms of not enough students to pay the cost of that course, but you have other courses that are operating and can operate at a surplus. If they balance out to a zero at the end of the summer, that's a success. What we don't want to have is deficit spending in the summer school that takes resources away from the fall and spring, and that's what we've been doing the last 3 years. So however a college, and we're keeping it a large scale, a college, not individual departments, but at college level, can manage their summer courses so they're at least break even in terms of what goes in and what's generated, it will help the entire campus in terms of financial resources. If there are surpluses, those can actually be used to help the next year as well. What we don't want to have is deficit spending in the summer that takes away resources in the fall and spring. And that's what we've been dealing with the last 3 years. So.
And I also wanted to say that one of the things that he said that they were looking at no matter what the obstacles, and I would just like to say that I would like to see that applied to faculty salaries. Okay, now, there were two other things. He talked about the retention plan, and I know because I have helped work on that, but the faculty that have had input to the retention plan that Dr. Ormston is going to announce is tremendous. So for all the faculty that have worked on that and the administrators, you've done a great job, and I'm anxious for that plan to come out. On the Core Foundation committee work, that committee has been working for 3 years. That is not something that just, occurred overnight. And no matter where that plan may have started or the initiative for that plan has become faculty-owned and faculty-driven. It has had the input of well over 100 faculty members, if not more, just working on the committee. Now, it has also had the input of every college on this campus as to what that plan would look like. Now, I'd also like to explain that the core plan, the classes have not been chosen. And so if there's rumor out there that those classes have already, somewhere been chosen, they haven't been. That's the kind of thing that will be worked out over the summer and into the fall and all the way into the spring, those designated classes for that core curricula. So there's plenty of time yet for all faculty to have input into what that core is going to look like. So it's not over yet, fans. All we've got right now is an outline, and it gives us some place to go. So once again, for everybody that worked on that and slaved over that, literally, and cried tears over it, there have been little arguments over it. Thank you, because I don't think we could have gotten it through without all that blood, sweat, and tears. So thank you for that. The growth in enrollment, I think that the faculty and the accomplishments of this faculty will be something that adds to our potential growth. When I look at, and I get a pretty good look at that from being Faculty Senate Chair, on the kinds of research and the kind of scholarship that the faculty at Marshall University produce, it is absolutely amazing. And we talk about becoming multicultural and international and how that's going to affect our campus. As I signed the travel requisition reimbursement forms, some of the ones that I've signed for are trips to France, Canada, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Turkey, Russia, Italy, Germany, Greece, New York, California, Florida, Chicago, and Nevada. And those are just naming some of them. So the faculty at Marshall University is traveling all over the world and all over the 4 corners of the United States. And I think you need to give yourselves an applause. Now, we have to, there are two business things that we have to take care of today besides, before we get to the fun part of the afternoon, are the nominations to Advisory Council and the nominations to the Marshall Board of Governors. The 2009 is an election year for the faculty representative on the West Virginia Advisory Council of Faculty and the Marshall University Board of Governors. West Virginia State Code 18B 6-2 states that they are elected in odd-numbered years. They serve a 2-year term with unlimited successive terms for the ACF representative. The term is from July 1st to June 30th of the following year. The member also serves as an ex officio voting member of the Faculty Senate and serves on the Executive Committee. Member present reports presents to the Faculty Senate on the activities of the ACF. The council meets each quarter or as called by the chair. Meetings are usually held before the HEPC. Meetings are at the same location. And I think, if I remember right, that Ben said that now they're going to be doing those meetings by teleconferencing or so that you don't have to travel all over the state, which was one of the things that he had to do. The council advises the HEPC, the chancellor, and the West Virginia legislature. Members serve without compensation but are entitled to reimbursement for actual and necessary expenses. Council meets each summer to discuss and prepare their legislative agenda for the coming year. Are there nominations from the floor? Monica.
I would like to nominate Dr. Chuck Bailey from the School of Journalism and Mass Communications.
Thank you. Are there other nominations? Chuck, would you like to say anything? Would you like to have your 3 minutes? Chuck is standing. Would you like to stand up so everybody can see who you are? As if they don't know. By the way, I wanted to tell you that I got, and you may not have gotten this because I don't think he shares this with everyone, but recently WMUL was broadcasting, was it this past weekend? A softball game. And one of the students at the university at which we were playing was listening to WMUL and their broadcast, and he wrote Chuck a very nice email about how professional our students were on the radio and how much he enjoyed listening to our students, and also said that he wished they had that kind of a program at their university. So congratulations. So maybe we can get some from other universities, do you think? Are we allowed to do that? Discuss bullet points for the BOG representative, which is West Virginia State Code 18B2A1. Pardon me? Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a motion to close the nominations for the ACF? Is there a second? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? I knew there was a reason I wanted her as my parliamentarian. A full-time, for the BOG representative, can I move on now, Cheryl? Thank you. A full-time member of the faculty with the rank of instructor or above, elected an odd number of years, serves a 2-year term and may be re-elected for 3 successive terms, not to exceed 8 consecutive years. The term is July 1st through June 30th. The board meets at least 6 times each fiscal year, including an annual meeting in June. The member also serves as an ex officio non-voting member of the Faculty Senate's Executive Committee. The member presents reports to the Faculty Senate. The board determines, controls, and supervises and manages the financial, business, and educational policies and affairs of the university. The board develops a master plan for the university. The board reviews all academic programs offered at the university. The board appoints the president of the university. Members serve without compensation and are entitled to reimbursement for actual and necessary expenses. Are there nominations from the floor? Monica.
I would like to nominate Dr. Larry Stickler from the College of Fine Arts.
Are there other nominations? Yes.
I would nominate Steve Banks from the College of Education and Human Services.
Thank you. Are there other nominations? Would either of the nominees like to make a statement?
Yes, I'll make a statement. Should I come up there?
Yes.
Thank you, Cam. Thank you. My name is Steve Banks. I've been a professor in educational psychology for 31 years. I've been a faculty member at Marshall for the last 26 years. I've had a fairly long career already, and when I look back on it, my own ambitions have been pretty much in the scholarly and research area. After 31 years as a faculty member, I'd have to say I'm pretty content with where I am in terms of those ambitions. I still like nothing better than to spend my time writing and doing research articles, writing textbooks. I'd have to say that my interests are in my academic discipline. They have always been that case. I feel that like a number of senior faculty members in my college, a need to stand up and be counted. And a number of my colleagues have. And today, it's my turn to stand up and be counted. I'm here after 26 years to run for the Board of Governors faculty position. In the last several years, I have really desired a more collegial spirit, and I'm here to work for that collegiality, and I ask your vote for that particular part of my life and my sense of collegiality. I have become a faculty advocate, as many of you know, in the last 2 or 3 years, and I've gained a lot of knowledge about the university and state of West Virginia practices and procedures. In fact, I would have to say that probably there are only a few faculty members in this audience today that have had more experience in this area over the last several years. I would prefer perhaps another course, but I feel an obligation to the faculty and to the staff at this university to stand up and be counted. And I have no real regrets in what I've done in good conscience in the last several years. I would do them again if circumstances cause me to do so. I will work hard for the benefits of the faculty, and I ask your vote for the Board of Governors position. Thank you.
Try to make it short. I'm Larry Stickler. I've been 21 years in the Department of Music and had the privilege of serving as the chair of Faculty Senate for 5 years. The position of the Board of Governors is liaison to bridge the gap between the boardroom and the classroom. We have an outstanding dedicated faculty here at Marshall directly involved in providing quality education for our students. The faculty representative to the board is not politically appointed, but is elected by the faculty to represent the faculty needs and opinions, the best interests of the faculty, and accountable to the faculty because to the faculty the representative will return. I'm proud to be a member of the faculty of Marshall University.
Are there any further nominations? Is there a motion to close nominations? Is there a second? All those in favor of closing nominations, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The e-voting is how the voting on these will take place, and it will come up and be on the Faculty Senate webpage, and it will begin on Monday, May 4th, and will continue through 12 a.m. on Sunday, May the 10th. And then we will notify give you notification of the results. Now, it is now it's time for some of the fun part to start. Before I start this, it's another fun thing, and I asked the president if I could announce this because I've had several emails from faculty members regarding the used-to-be celebrated picnic at the end of the year. And so I asked him about that, if we were going to have a picnic. And I am happy to report to you that, yes, there will be a picnic this year. And it will be after commencement on Saturday because Mother's Day is Sunday, and Dr. Kopp told me that they're going to have it inside because they're thinking that that particular Saturday may be awfully hot as we've experienced this past week. So I am, pleased to bring that information to you. Thank you, Dr. Kopp. Now, for some awards that go unnoticed lots of times and not thanked, but to the executive committee of the Faculty Senate, who always get all your things before they come to the Faculty Senate. And if you've had anything come to the Faculty Senate Exec Committee, you know, sometimes they can be pretty daggone picky as to what they think your Senate recommendation ought to look at and how you ought to word things. But it's always for the betterment of that bill. So for the members of that committee, I want to say thank you, and we have some certificates for them. Maurice Lockridge. And I think Maurice stayed home. Jennifer Sias. There he comes. Thank you. Cheryl Brown, parliamentarian. Being vice chair is one of those uncelebrated positions. The Eldon Larson, and Eldon is presenting a paper, and I think his wife Sandra is going to accept this for him. Ben Miller. Monica Brooks. And there's another person that all of you know the name because you get unbelievable emails from her, and she keeps us all on the straight and narrow. And if it weren't for her, let me tell you, the Faculty Senate would probably fall apart in a couple of days. But if Bernice Bullock would come forward, I know she's here. I didn't give her a certificate because she had to have made it, and I tried, and so I got her something else.
Thank you so much. That's so sweet of you. Thank you.
The Standing Committee Chairman, Susan Jackson, Chairman of Academic Planning, and Timothy Bouch, the Recording Secretary. Kelly Harlow, Chair of the Athletic Committee. Ron Titus, Recording Secretary for the Athletic Committee. Felipe Georgel, Chair of the Budget and Academic Policy Committee. Sandy Mara, Recording Secretary for Budget and Academic Policy. Brian Morgan, Chairman of the Curriculum Committee. Linda Turner, Recording Secretary. Melinda Backus, Chair of the Faculty Development Committee. Majed Kader, Recording Secretary of Faculty Development. Mary Jo Graham, Chair of the Faculty Personnel Committee. And Gina Evans, Recording Secretary for the Faculty Personnel Committee. Stephen Tipler, Chair of the Legislative Affairs Committee. Pam Holland, Recording Secretary of Legislative Affairs Committee. Rob Raby, Chair of the Library Committee. Dreama Stringer, Recording Secretary for the Library. Pat Conlon, Chair of Physical Facilities and Planning. Narissa Young, Recording Secretary for Physical Facilities and Planning. David Mallory, Chair of the Research Committee. Sabrina Thomas, Recording Secretary for the Research Committee. Cicero Thane, Chair of Student Conduct and Welfare. And Susan Welch, Chair of Student Conduct and Welfare. Dale Schau, Chair of University Functions Committee. Laura Boswell, Recording Secretary for University Functions. And now, for the retiring faculty. Dr. Ormiston, would you like to do this, please? Dr. Schau, would you help me with this, please? I'm sorry, Dr. Schau's not here. In recognition of the retiring faculty, we have Dr. Bruce Shertug. 30 years of service, the James C. Edwards Medical School.
Dr. Michael Kornfeld, Art and Design, College of Fine Arts, 42 years of service. Dr. Daniel D. Cowell, Psychiatry and Behavioral Medicine, Jones C. Edwards School of Medicine, 15 years of service. Dr. Leonard Deutsch, English, College of Liberal Arts, and Dean of the Graduate College.
See Dr. Dewey.
I thought he might have been here. Dr. Alan Gould, History, College of Liberal Arts, Executive Director of the John Deaver Drinko Academy, 40 years of service. Read it anyway. Dr. William Ramsey, English, College of Liberal Arts, 39 years of service. Dr. Clara Reese, Human Development and Allied Technology, College of Education and Human Services. He's not here. Dr. H. Keith Spears, Journalism and Mass Communications, W. Page Pitts School of Journalism and Mass Communications. Dr. Robert B. Walker, Family and Community Health, Joan St. Edwards School of Medicine, 29 years of service.
And thank you all for your years of service.
William McDowell.
There was a combined total, I don't know whether you listened to those numbers, of 325 years of experience. That's amazing. Each retiree has selected a retirement gift with the options of being an MU gift card, bookstore gift card, a Boston rocking chair, or a captain's chair. Would all the nominees please stand for or the retirees please stand for a round of applause. The next on the list is the Sarah Denman Faces of Appalachian Award. Dr. Linda Spotting.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Linda Spadig, professor in the School of Education and co-director, along with Professor Chris Green in the English department, of the Center for the Study of Ethnicity and Gender in Appalachia, also known as CSEGA. As you may know, CSEGA is an interdisciplinary organization here at Marshall. It's housed in the College of Liberal Arts, but we have membership from many of the other colleges on campus and other campus units as well. A few years ago, CSEGA, in collaboration with the Appalachian Studies Association, which is housed in the College of Education and Human Services, obtained a National Endowment for the Humanities Challenge Grant, the purpose of which was to promote scholarship on race, ethnicity, and gender in Appalachia. That grant resulted in an endowment that enables us to make an annual faculty fellowship award that I am here to present this afternoon. The annual faculty fellowship recipient receives 2 course reassignments as well as a $3,000 stipend and presents her research publicly at a Faces of Appalachia symposium in the spring semester of the fellowship year. At this time, I am delighted to announce that the 2009 Sarah Denman Faces of Appalachia Fellowship Award will support research entitled Communities Educating Tomorrow's Scientist, Minority Appalachian Youth in an After-School Science Program, conducted by Dr. Tina Cartwright, Assistant Professor in the School of Education.
And now Dr. Gail Ormiston will present the Distinguished Service Awards. Or you can use the mic. Okay, no. I'll do this and you hand out the awards. Okay, then you announce them.
In this order. Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to present to you the 5 awardees for the Distinguished Service Award for faculty. We'll begin with Dr. Leonard Deutsch from the Department of English and the Graduate College. Dr. Deutsch has been with the university for 39 years of service. Dr. Violet Esch. Professor of Counseling in the College of Education, Health, and Human Services. Dr. Donald Hall, Professor of Counseling in the College of Education and Human Services. Dr. Shirley Lumpkin from the Department of English and the College of Liberal Arts. Dr. Joseph Stone is Professor of Accountancy and Legal Environment. I believe he is unable to attend today because he's teaching. But please, a round of applause for him.
And Dr. Deutsch has the next awards.
In addition to teaching and to scholarship, we know that advising is vital to students, that mentoring relationship can mean everything to a student. And thanks to the generosity of Larry and Cheryl Tweel, who are our financial angels for this particular award this year, we are going to present the John and Frances Rucker Graduate Advisor of the Year Award. The first award goes to, is Dr. Hong here? Okay, please come up. And as he's coming up, we are presenting a plaque and we are presenting a check. And I'll tell you why he has been chosen for this award. A student, one of the nominees, nominators, said, "The man most responsible for any and all success I have enjoyed has gone largely unnoticed by the university at large for his years of patient guidance to me as well as to numerous other students and alumni. He talked to me about the importance of engaging in the academic field beyond my individual study. To that end, he organized and supervised a trip to the Linguistic Society of America's conference in Chicago for me and 7 other students, including 2 alumni now in PhD programs at Purdue University, in large part thanks to Dr. Hong. Because of his efforts, my presentation at the 35th International Systemic Functional Congress in Sydney, Australia, was successful, and I am now a published scholar, and I received numerous offers from internationally prestigious linguistic professors and departments to continue my study beyond Marshall University, and he's been offered an opportunity to publish his thesis. And this was all because of Dr. Hung. And Dr. Hung has consistently been there at whatever time I approached him for whatever need I have. Because of him, my study at Marshall has not only been more focused, but more rewarding as well. And I do want to read very briefly from a faculty member who nominated him, saying, "I don't know anyone who works as hard on behalf of graduate students as Dr. Hung." In December of 2007, he drove a van full of graduate students to a linguistics conference in Chicago, only days after attending another conference on behalf of our department. The students presented a panel formally initiating their professional careers, with Dr. Hung cheering them along every step of the way. And for that, we thank you, Bob. Thank you. The awardee representing the South Charleston campus is Tracy Cristofaro. And as she comes up, I will tell you that one of her nominators said she advises approximately 50 graduate students every semester. She keeps them informed through email of any and all developments in schedule, upcoming courses, and policies that might affect them. She sends internet links to each of them about articles that might be of interest to them while working on their technology management degrees. Through technology, Dr. Cristofaro has retained about half a dozen graduate students who would have otherwise had to drop out of the program due to distances involved. This is an outstanding example of the type of retention efforts we need to be making at this university. And a student wrote about her. Dr. Tracy Cristofaro has been an immensely positive influence on my time at Marshall. She's always available to consult on academic issues, actively interested in the input of students, relevant in both what she teaches and how she teaches it, always clear in outlining her expectations for students, and does very well in informing students of activities and events that they may be interested in. Dr. Cristofaro also makes students aware of different ways they can get involved in the subject, commonly mentioning contests and conferences of interest to students. At times, she will even send individual students information on events that are of specific interest to that student. I know that quite a few of the newsletters and information about events and opportunities have positively benefited me, and I appreciate her thoughtfulness. For these reasons, we honor these outstanding graduate advisors.
Dr. Larry Stickler.
Dr. Venkat Gudavada is presenting a paper out of town today and is unable to be with us to present the awards. I will be reading from the text provided by Dr. Gudavada. On behalf of the Marshall University Distinguished Artists and Scholars Awards Committee, known as MU-DASA, it is my pleasure to present to you this year's award winners. These awards are given to faculty for their excellence in scholarly and research activities. MU-DASA awards are given in 4 categories. 1, a junior award open to all disciplines across the university. The candidates hold the rank of assistant professor. 2, a senior award for faculty holding the rank of associate or full professor in arts, social sciences, humanities, education, and business. 3, another senior award for faculty holding the rank of associate or full professor in the sciences, engineering, medicine, nursing, and health professions. Number 4, a team award to recognize substantial and exceptional contributions of faculty through team projects. There is no team award this year. Over the past few years, the MU-DASA committee has had a unique opportunity to review a sampling of Marshall University's wealth of talented artists and scholars. Again, selecting a winner from our many talented colleagues, artists, and scholars is an arduous task. All are very deserving. The quality of the candidates is an indicator of Marshall's progress toward national prominence. Number 1, in the senior category, Sciences and Technology. This year, the MU DASA Committee has selected Dr. Eldon Larson for the Senior Category Award in Sciences and Technology. Dr. Larson is Professor of Engineering in the Art and Joan Weisberg Division of Engineering and Computer Sciences. Some of his accomplishments include, in February 2009, Dr. Larson was named a Fellow of the American Institute of Chemical Engineers, a title reserved only in recognition of professional attainment and significant accomplishment in engineering. He served as the chair of the Planning and Organizing Committee for a 2007 Worldwide Conference on Energy and Raw Materials Uncertainties. And he was the co-chair for that conference, which brought together business executives and professionals from around the world. Since 2003, he has chaired or co-chaired at least 8 technical sessions at national level professional society conferences. In April and November of 2009, he is scheduled to chair another 2 technical sessions at national meetings of the American Chemical Engineering Society. Over the past 8 years, he has made over 32 presentations to professional societies. He has received 2 patents. Program Coordinator for the Master of Science in Engineering degree program, and Chair of the Marshall University Graduate Council for the past 8 years. Please recognize this year's Marshall University Distinguished Artist and Scholar, Dr. Eldon Larson, who is attending a conference in Florida and is unable to be with us. Accepting for Dr. Larson is his wife, Susan. Number 2, the senior category in Arts, Social Sciences, Humanities, Education, and Business. This year, the MU DASA Committee has selected James Sotilli, Jr. for the Senior Category Award in Arts, Social Sciences, Humanities, Education, and Business. Dr. Jim Sotilli, Jr. has been working at Marshall University for the last 13 years. During his time with the university, Jim has excelled in the areas of scholarly research, grant funding, teaching, advising, serving on various university committees, and has spent much time volunteering in the community. While at Marshall University, Dr. Sotilli has presented over 60 refereed publications and presentations. He has presented his research at local, regional, state, national, and international forums. Dr. Sotilli has conducted research on human development, professional development, teacher development, effective leadership qualities, math and science achievement, and the use of technology in the learning process. Please recognize this year's winner in the Arts Social Sciences, Dr. James Sotilli, Jr. In the junior category, the committee has selected Dr. Payali Dasgupta. Dr. Dasgupta is an assistant professor in the Department of Pharmacology, Physiology, and Toxicology, Joan C. Edwards School of Medicine. Originally from India, she arrived at Marshall University after completing postdoctoral fellowships at the College of Physicians and Surgeons, Columbia University, and the H. Lee Moffitt Cancer Center in Tampa, Florida. During her postdoctoral fellowship, she worked with one of the leaders in the field of cell cycle research. She discovered that nicotine could inhibit the death of the cells of non-small cell cancer induced by chemotherapeutic drugs. Her research focuses on how components of tobacco can promote the progression of lung cancer. Specifically, her research focuses on how nicotine can facilitate the growth and progression of small cell lung cancers. She is the only junior investigator selected nationally for a prestigious award from the American Society of Pharmacology and Experimental Therapeutics. She has over 20 peer-reviewed publications in professional journals. Please recognize this year's junior award winner, Dr. Payali Dasgupta.
Professor Pat Collin will present the Elizabeth Pickens and Queen Excellence in Teaching Award.
Thank you, and good afternoon. Through a generous gift from Glenn and Carol Queen and Ethel Pickens, the Pickens Queen Award was established to recognize the importance placed on teaching at Marshall University and to provide encouragement and incentive for teaching achievement by newer faculty members. I'd like to thank my fellow committee members for their time and effort in selecting this year's awardees, and I would like to thank all of the Pickens Queen nominees. We had an outstanding field in this year's competition. The recipients of the 2009 Pickens Queen Award are Dr. Natsuki Anderson, Interim Chair of Modern Languages, College of Liberal Arts. Dr. George Davis of the Political Science Department, College of Liberal Arts. And Dr. Wendy Williams of the Psychology Department, College of Liberal Arts.
Dr. Karen Mitchell is seated right over here and will present the Shirley Reynolds Award.
The Marshall and Shirley Reynolds Outstanding Teacher Award is the oldest of the faculty awards presented here today. And because it's open to the vast majority of the faculty, it's an incredibly difficult decision to make. In fact, if you ever have any doubts about the high quality, the high caliber of teaching available on this campus, follow the Reynolds Committee around. Because it's such a difficult decision, we gather data from multiple sources. We read materials provided by the candidates. This year's winner told us that learning is an act of joy that has the potential to transform lives. We not only read this material, but we visit the classroom. When the committee members gathered to reach the final decision, the two words that were repeated over and over again were enthusiasm and innovation. We also talked to students. The students said that she guides them to levels higher than they thought they could possibly reach, that she's always available to help, and she's always there to celebrate their successes. And then we talked to the members of the department, and there we learned about her mystical abilities. Because apparently she has the ability to shift time. This is the only thing that would explain all the activities that she engages in. She develops online courses. She mentors students in the Jaeger program. She coordinates the graduate certificate in medieval and Renaissance studies. She's involved in other committee work. She supports the faculty. She supports her community. She's WAC certified. My paper just ran out. And it continues in this vein. Please help me recognize Dr. Katrina Schrey, the 2009 Marshall and Shirley Reynolds Outstanding Teacher.
For the Charles E. Hedrick Outstanding Faculty Award, Dr. Dallas Brosnick.
The Charles E. Hedrick Outstanding Faculty Award is a broad-ranging award where we have other awards that specialize for teaching and research. The Hedrick Award is given to that faculty member who demonstrates teaching, research, and service. Now, I do have to echo some of Karen's comments. This was a very tough year. I don't try to detract anything from the winner, but we wanted to give out more. They were that good. Well, this year's winner, you've been looking at the back, is Bonnie Lawrence. Just stand up, Bonnie. Stand right where you are. Because what I have to do is I have to admit failure. Where some of my other colleagues here had all sorts of prepared notes, I started making some notes about her. And I was writing stuff down. And then, well, she's already won a Reynolds Award. She's won the Distinguished Artists and Scholars twice. She took some Lego blocks and some rubber bands and made that differential engine, whatever it was. She put that thing together. And I was taking all of these things and I was moving them over to this side to figure out how I was going to say it. And what I had left that were her personal attributes, I found that I was reading a description of Tigger from Winnie the Pooh because she bounces. All of you who know her, she bounces. I have no idea how to do anything more than that. So I will leave the rest of the accolades to you, but there's one other thing you must add, that in the entire history of the Hedrick Award winners, Dr. Bonnie Lawrence is the only one who has ever danced with me.
And I want to remind you that these are the examples of why we are an outstanding university. Is there any other business for the general faculty meeting? At this time, I would like to make some thank yous before I let you go into the good food that's waiting for you. To Dr. Ormiston for his assistance today, to Dr. Kopp for his remarks and his assistance today, to the photographers for taking the pictures, for Sue Tams for the preparation of the PowerPoint, to James Moore Smith and Deb Carter Dim and Kevin Bannon for their assistance at the Playhouse, getting everything set up for us, Dr. Kopp and the President's Office for the funding of the reception. And I would also like to remind you that there is, let me get my notes here real quickly. That I wrote them down and now I can't find them, of course. Oh, I was asked to announce to you the experts directory, and they are looking for faculty members to become a part of the experts directory. And if you will contact Leah Edwards, she can tell you more about it. And it is edwardl@marshall.edu. But it is basically a market-based strategy to let people know what we're all about and the kinds of expertise that you might have that you would be willing to go out and talk about to the general public. There is one little twist to it. You've got to be willing to talk to the media. And I know sometimes that can be maybe a little challenging, but so far they haven't bit me, so I think you'll be okay with them. So, and with that, I want to thank, did I forget something? Oh, okay. I heard this whispering. So with that, I would like to say the spring general faculty meeting is now adjourned.